Well, good morning, folks. It's the real Captain Kirk here. It is the 11th of January. Hard to believe, but we are pretty much at the midpoint of meteorological winter, which started back on 1 December. A lot of buzz lately about the polar vortex splitting up. So far, that's been buzz for China and Russia, where they're really, really cold weather. So anytime the polar vortex splits up like this, gets a little less symmetrical, you have a chance for some Arctic intrusion of cold weather, and that's really been parked over China, Russia, and even parts of Europe. Obviously, you saw the Spain blizzard. So again, more in their area of the world rather than the U.S. here. Some signs that we may get a glancing shot of this out toward the 23rd of January. For sure, Canada will start to get some intrusion of colder weather. But again, right now, not a full onslaught of the vortex expected until, again, way out there into the latter part of January here. Looking at the last week's summary here, so this is 3 through 9 January. The big map is temperatures versus last year on a retail calendar, how our clients like to look at it. Here in the U.S., we were about 2.3 degrees colder than last year, making it the coldest in 3 years, but still well above average, 12th warmest in 35 years. 62% drier than last year, driest in 3, 8th driest in 35, so way below average precip. Snowfall also pretty light, 70% less snowfall than last year, least in 35 years, so much below average. Maps inset left are trends versus average, and again, you can see that wall-to-wall warm trends for Canada and the cold trends across Europe, Siberia, and China. But again, Canada's 13 degrees warmer than last year, hottest in 14 years up there. So pretty much coast to coast hot in Canada. Europe, about 5.6 degrees colder, making it the coldest in 4 years. Russia, really cold, 13.3 degrees colder than last year, coldest in 5 years. So very cold in Russia. China, 11.3 degrees colder than last year, coldest in 8. Cold down under, continue Australia, 2.8 degrees colder, coldest in 16 years. Hotspots India for sure, hottest in 35 years, 3.5, and Brazil a tad cooler. Looking at the season-to-date snowfall trends and temperature trends here. So map chart left here is snowfall trends season-to-date. That would be season meaning starting back on September 1st through January 10th. So again, season-to-date snowfall across the U.S. is 15% less than last year, 17% below average. So again, very light for the season-to-date, even though there's been widespread snow. We're getting some snow even in the deep south today, but again, well below average. Looking at winter-to-date, again, chart right here, a little better, 2% up over last year, but again, still 26% below average on a national scale. Looking at the data here for winter, meteorological winter 1 December through 11 January. Again, U.S. about 1.9 degrees colder than last year for the winter so far. Coldest in 3 years, but that's still 10th warmest in 35 years. So about 1.9 above average. So a warm winter, again, so far for the U.S. overall. 25% drier than last year, driest in 3 years, 14th driest in 35 years. So about 9% below average rainfall, if you will. And while again, snowfall's 2% more than last year for the winter so far, but again, still 26% below average on the winter snowfall front here. Looking at some good news trends here, again, flu remains near historic lows. Last year, this time, obviously, we were in the midst of a type B surge, one of the biggest in recorded history, and then this year is again one of the lowest in history due to a lot of reasons. COVID, again, according to the CDC here, is at least most of the indices are trending down a bit on a national scale. Of course, there's some hot spots, but again, at least right now, it doesn't look like it's a huge surge. But again, time will tell as we go through the rest of winter here. Looking at this week, 11 through 17 January here, middle January, hard to believe. About a degree cooler than last year for the nation overall, but that's still 7th warmest in 35 years. So that map inset left there shows the temperatures much, much colder than last year in the south. In fact, they're getting some snow here today. Looking at the precip here, very dry, 72% less than last year, driest in 12 years for the U.S. overall, 5th driest in 35 years, so much below average precip across the country. Snowfall, also really light, 62% less snow than last year, least in 4, 6th least in 35 years, so much below average on that front. There is a system moving through the south again here yesterday and today, so a lot of kids, you probably saw the headline news of kids in Texas sledding on hills. Don't get to do that every day outside of to the north of Houston there. More snow today going through Houston, northern Louisiana, and Mississippi, so a lot of happy kids down there for sure. This system, as it moves east, you can see it pretty much just evaporates. So not heading into the mid-Atlantic or northeast, it pretty much just dries up as the system heads out to sea. And again, as we talked about here, not a lot of snowfall this week. Some in the Rockies. As we get late in the period here, we'll see some in the upper Midwest, Great Lakes. But again, not looking for a huge storm. And as we get out toward the weekend, we can see again some lake effect, Great Lake type wintry snowfall trends here. But again, not a lot this week. As we look at the trends here for next week, again, we can see 18 through 24 January here, about 1.1 degrees warmer than last year, warmest in 3 years, 13th warmest in 35 years. So again, above average temperatures. Start to see some cold weather coming into the Rockies and upper Midwest, upper plains. In fact, again, this is the weekly average, but if we were to look at the late period here, the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, we'd see quite a bit of the country in the east and the Great Lakes is getting quite a bit colder. So if we're going to get a little bit of an Arctic intrusion here, it's not epic, but it will be in the later part of next week, more toward the 22nd, 3rd, 4th time frame. Precip, again, still 71% less than last year. Driest in 7 years, 5th driest in 35 years, so much below average rainfall precip. 23% less snow than last year, least in 3 years, 16th least in 35 years. So some snow in the probably overdone in this model animation here, but certainly some snow as that cold weather starts to come into the upper plains, upper Midwest, and certainly the Great Lakes will get some influence of that cold air across the relatively warm lakes. So again, something to look forward to if you're a snow lover, but again, it'll be pretty much outside the big cities of the Northeast. If we look at the 2-week aggregate here again, so this is 11 through 24 January, again, much above average temperatures are Canada. That starts to change as we get late in this period here. But this is the 2-week aggregate overall. Very cold across Europe and Russia and Moscow. China starts to warm up quite a bit. So that cold polar vortex, you can see it splitting more toward pretty much Moscow. It would be southwest Russia. It looks like the big winner of the polar vortex. And again, maybe a glancing shot here as we get out toward the Canada, at least late in the period. We will be speaking later tomorrow if you're on the Allergy and Asthma Network. Again, they got millions of folks that follow them. We will be speaking tomorrow afternoon here. So again, check that out if we're talking about our spring 2021 outlook and how it relates to allergy and asthma suffering across the U.S. So with that, folks, have a great week, and we will be back here this time next week.